Hey everyone, this is Sindhu from Golden Warriors Robotics, and today I'll be walking you through the basics of the electrical and wiring system. In this presentation, we'll go over all the basics, including how the control system works, the tools and materials used for wiring, how to organize large amounts of wires, and any troubleshooting tips that can save a lot of time during competition season. So, let's get started. So, firstly, we have to look at the control system. The first part of the control system is the control hub. That's basically the brain of the robot. It supports up to 5 servos with 4 motors with encoders, as well as other sensors such as the IMU, which helps with orientation and autonomous movement. Next, we have the expansion hub. It connects directly to the control hub to increase the number of ports we have, adding another 4 motors and 5 servos. So if we ever need more components, this is why we use an expansion hub. Powering all of this is the 12V NIMH battery. It uses the XT30 connector that plugs into the control hub. We only use one battery, no matter how many components we have, which means that if we have an expansion hub, we need to use another XT30 cable to connect to it. I recommend using the Modern Robotics or the Go Build a Battery instead of the RevSiv battery since they're a little bit more reliable. The switch connects between the battery and the control hub. That's what powers the robot and turns it on and off. Of course, we have other various wires encoder wires, motor wires, servo wires, anything that can link them together. So on the next slide, we can see that we have a lot of diagrams right here. And when these diagrams, you'll see how all the parts come together. You can see how the control hub connects to the motors, servos, and sensors, while the battery connects to the main power. When wiring, always make sure that the same color goes with the same color. So for example, red will go with red and black will go with black. This is the easiest way to prevent shorts or reverse polarity, which can affect your robot in many detrimental ways. So now we have some tools for wiring. There are a few simple but important tools that can keep wiring clean and organized at the same time. Zip ties are a great way of securing wires to the robot's frame. They're very easy to use and they're pretty easy because we can also cut them off when they're not needed anymore. Velcro ties are very similar to zip ties, but they're reusable. So if you see that you're going to be using a lot of zip ties, it might be good to invest in Velcro ties and you can adjust them as well. Next, we have maxing tape or labels, which are a great way to mark where each wire goes. This saves you a lot of time, and labeling just makes sure that everything is a lot more organized and coherent as a whole. Then we see that we have wire management pads, which are like spiral wraps, tubing, or drag chains, and they keep everything safe and organized. And finally, we have the optional smoldering iron that can expand wires if you don't have the proper length or connectors. Okay, now we're going to look at motors and servos. Motors and servos are the main moving parts of our electrical system. So, firstly, let's look at the motors. The motors are basically like the powerhouses. They spin continuously and provide torque or speed to drive mechanisms. Servos, on the other hand, have a very limited range of motion, but they move in more exact areas. They're often used in claws, arms, or anything that needs precise and like exact control. So now let's look at some tips so that we can ensure that our wiring is as good as possible. Good wiring isn't just about neatness, it's about the efficiency and the safety of our wiring. So here are some of the best practices in our opinion. First, let's group our wires by their function. For example, we're going to put all of our motor wires together and all of our sensor wires together so that we don't really get confused with which one is which. Then, make sure that you keep everything accessible. Don't bury components deep inside the robot because if anything breaks, you're going to have to fix it fast. And if you have to go digging through a lot of other things, you might run into other foreseen problems. Thirdly, make sure that you run the wires safely and away from gears or any moving parts. Label every wire. That way, you'll know exactly what needs to be fixed if a problem ever arises. Trust me, you're going to want to label them. If wires press against metal edges, protect them with electrical tape or foam to avoid tearing. If they tear, your robot may not work. Use Velcro ties for large or excess wires. That'll make sure that everything is kept in a very clean and organized way. If a wire ever is near a moving part, wrap it in electrical tape, or better yet, put it in a protective sleeve so that the wire doesn't break. Also, make sure that if it's a part of a moving component, such as a claw or servo arm, give it some slack so the wire doesn't stretch, snap, or unplug when it moves. Okay. So now we're going to go on to some troubleshooting. Many times electrical wires break or you're going to need to fix something during competition, and this is one way you can do it in a much more efficient and fast way. So, firstly, make sure that your servos are plugged in correctly. The red and black wires should line up. And the third wire, that's usually orange, white, or yellow, is the signal or the PWM wire. Make sure that your battery is always charged. It should at least read to 12 volts. If your battery runs out during competition, that would be incredibly tragic. If something isn't powering on, double check for a loose battery or hub connection. If something suddenly stops working, restart on the op mode program first, then inspect the wiring before changing any code. Okay? Now let's look at the control hub light. Because the control hub light is also very important to diagnose problems. Remember, blue means it's booting up or connecting, green means it's successfully connected to the driver's station. Always bring spare parts, wires, motors, zip ties, or anything else you might need so that you can make quick replacements. Remember to check polarity red to red, black to black. If you want detailed troubleshooting reference, there's an official first guide linked right here. Okay, guys. Thank you so much for listening. And that's almost everything you'll need to know for the basics for electrical and wiring overview. Understanding and maintaining the system is key to making your robot reliable and competition ready. Thanks for listening. If you have any questions, make sure that you read the first guide linked here or make sure that you watch our other videos instead.